Hey guys, Mr. Cohen here, back with another online lesson on algebra. This time we're going to talk about three different properties. The first property I want to look at is the commutative property. Now your notes has a pretty lengthy definition, but it really can be summarized by saying that order doesn't matter when multiplying or dividing. So let's write down a couple addition examples. For example, 4 plus 5 equals 5 plus 4. Doesn't matter what order the numbers go. 4 plus 5 is 9, and 5 plus 4 is 9. But dealing with algebra could also be written using variables. A plus B equals B plus A. For multiplication, the same thing can be true. 3 times 7, notice I'm using that little floating dot, equals 7 times 3. 3 times 7 is 21. 7 times 3 is also 21. Again, because it's algebra, it can be written with variables as well. A times B can equal B times A. That's a commutative property. Order doesn't matter. I remember in class we talked about commutative property where we described two people carpooling together, and one drives one time, the other one drives the other. It doesn't really matter who's driving, whichever way you go. Commutative property, you can go either way. Let's look at the next property, which is the associative property. So the associative property reads, the way three numbers are grouped when added or multiplied does not change the sum or product. And let me give you an example. If I take 3 plus, in parentheses, 9 plus 4, that will equal 3 plus 9, in parentheses, plus 4. Let's see, let's prove it. Again, do parentheses first according to our order of operations. 9 plus 4 is 13 plus 3. 3 plus 13 is 16. 3 plus 9 is 12 plus 4. 12 plus 4 is 16. Again, 16 equals 16. We're good. The same thing goes for multiplication. If I do 8 times 5 times 7, that will equal 8 times 5, in parentheses, times 7. Let's prove it. Again, order of operations, you do the in the parentheses first. 5 times 7, 35 times 8. And 35 times 8 is 280. No, I did not do that in my head. I have a little cheat sheet right here that I'm using. You should work out the problem. 8 times 5 is 40. Times 7. 40 times 7 is 280. 280 equals 280. That's the associative property. If there's three numbers grouped for addition and multiplication, it doesn't matter where the grouping goes. You'll get the same answer. One more, personal favorite of mine, is the identity property. And the identity property states that the sum of an addend and 0 is the addend. The product of a factor and 1 is the factor. Again, this is on your notes, but let's talk about what in the world does that mean. Well, with addition, if I have 13 plus 0, it's going to equal 13. No matter what number it is, if you add it to 0, you're going to get that number. And with multiplication here, if I have 13 times 1, it's going to equal 13. So whatever your number is, times 1, you're always going to get your original number. Let's try it out. Here I have, where's my eraser? There it is. Here I have some sample problems. Okay. Our directions are pretty lengthy, so let's break it down with goals with what we have to do. Determine whether the two expressions are equivalent. So we have to say, are they equivalent, yes or no? If so, tell what property is being applied. If not, explain why. So we have 3 things to do. First, figure out, are they equivalent? If they are equivalent, we have to figure out what property we're using. And if they're not equivalent, we have to explain why. So here I have 5 times, in parentheses, 6 times 3, and, in parentheses, 5 times 6 times 3. Our first step is we have to determine, are they equivalent or not? So let's look. Do parentheses first. 6 times 3 is 18 times 5. And I can't do this in my head, and I don't have a cheat sheet for it. So off to the side, I'm going to do 18 times 5, or I'll do it right up here. 18 times 5. 5 times 8 is 40. 0 carry the 4. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 4 is 9. The answer is 90. So now, if this equals 90, then yes, they are equivalent. But let's figure it out. 5 times 6 is 30 times 3. This I can do in my head because I know 3 times 3 is 9, add a 0, and we get 90. So 90 does equal 90. So the answer is yes, they are equivalent. Now the question is, what property is being applied? If you remember, this one says that if you notice with this first one, the 6 times 3 is grouped. In the second one, the 5 times 6 is grouped. Did it matter where the groupings were? It did not. So what property is that? That's the associative property. So are they equivalent? Yes. If so, tell what property is being applied. It's the associative property. Let's try another one. Erase, erase, erase. The directions are still the same. I left them. But here we have 5 plus 8 equals, in parentheses, 5 plus 5 plus 8. Let's see if they're equal. Do the parentheses first. 5 plus 8 is 13 plus 5. 5 plus 13 is 18. So now we're looking. If this side equals 18, then yes, they are equivalent. 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 8. 10 plus 8 is 18. 18 does in fact equal 18. So yes, they are equivalent. And what property? If you remember, what property is it that if there's groupings of 3, it doesn't matter where the parentheses are? That is still the associative property. Boom. Another example of the associative property. Last example. Here I have directions. I left the exact same. 2 expressions. Figure out first, are they equivalent? 20 minus 12 in parentheses minus 3 and 20 minus 12 minus 3. 20 minus 12. Again, we do the parentheses. What's inside the parentheses first? 20 minus 12 is 8. Bring down the minus 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. So now we're looking. If this equals 5, then yes, they are equivalent. Parentheses first. 12 minus 3 is 9. Bring down the minus 20. 20 minus 9 is 11. I got 5 for this side, I got 11 for this side. Are they equivalent? The answer is no. If so, tell what property is applied. There is no property applied because they're not equivalent. If not, explain why. Why? The answer is because 5 does not equal 11. Notice how I wrote that does not equal. It's an equal sign with just the slash going through. You're often going to see that in algebra. Does not equal, that's just my shorthand of equal with a slash through it. Does not equal. If you feel more comfortable with writing does not equal, you can do that. But again, that's just my shorthand way of doing it. That's going to conclude this lesson for now. And any questions, jot them down on your notes, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.